those are some of the things that really matter inside a lifestyle as humans, because when you want a high acceleration to remove parasite, you're gonna have to be highly dependent on.
Yeah.
If you're not really dependent on your immune system, 9 out of 10 times what's gonna actually occur is you're gonna be prone to infected. You can get transmissions of parasites just through sexual activity. I had a guy from Planet Fitness. This guy wasted all over Planet Fitness bathroom. It was a bodily fluid, and this guy caught herpes on the bottom of his foot, wasted all over Planet Fitness bathroom.
Okay, guys, got Philip here today, Dr. Sebi's grandson, continuing the legacy, and Vegas local as well.
Yep.
Thanks for coming, man. Love the outfit too.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
What's the crystal on the necklace?
It's significant because you know, I was doing my research on crystals, and I just wanted to, you know, tap right into it because I know that crystals kind of bring some type of totality in your life. So I'm like, you know, my grandfather taught about the Mayans, so most likely let me go on the internet and try to find a Mayan chain. So this kind of came from South America.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, I went on Etsy.
Dude, I love Etsy. I buy a lot of my crystals on Etsy.
Exactly.
Yeah, Etsy's got some great spiritual stuff, man.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
That's so cool, though. I love the ancient civilization stuff.
Man, me too. Me too. Who don't? I mean, that's the reason why I got the necklace. So there was, I got like 10 of them because I thought it was just like a role that I got to play when it comes to going ancient or like realizing like what type of direction that somebody actually needs. So I wanted to wear the chain that they were wearing.
Yeah.
So like, you know, the jewelry makers, they took on the culture and stuff.
Oh, the hat is dope too. I've never seen something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Well done, dude. Now parasites are a hot topic right now. I know you're an expert on that, right?
Yes.
What's going on? Like, it seems like almost everyone has them.
Well, I kind of looked at what Dr. Sebi has talked about, and I compared it to the moon at one time because, you know, I kind of looked into like microscopic health. My grandfather was really big on identifying, you know, the blood system when it's really unhealthy with a microscope, and I'm like, okay, as a family, you know, it's good for us to take it to the microscope level, but let's take a telescope. And then, you know, I started getting a telescope and looking up. I was just like, you know, I'm on Earth, but what are some of the benefits can I get by going over the constellation? And then for some odd reason, I came across the lunar cycle that takes 29 days for it to orbit around the Earth. And it has over 13 phases. And the worst one is the full moon. And that's where I believe parasites, they kind of take the most, they take the most attacks on the human. Like us as humans, we get the most worst things in the world, because one thing that I realized was the University of Indiana have studies to where they actually seen the most suicides were actually made during the full moon.
Whoa.
So I was just like, wow. So when the full moon actually occurs, this is when we're realizing as people that the most crimes, the most behavioral issues, the most suicides, the most robberies, the most improper behavioral issues actually occurs during the full moon cycle. So I'm going through the studies, and I'm actually realizing that that parasites, they kind of intervene with the central nervous system, and it's going to still and siphon melatonin and also serotonin levels. So I was just like, wow, you know, just based on the reports from Africa, or based on the reports that 25% of people actually have a parasite, or up to 25% that they're advocating.
Yeah. I feel like it's higher, honestly.
You think so?
I mean, how are they doing that study? I'd have to learn like more, but I've run into so many people that have them. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I go on NCBI. It's a natural biochemistry website, and it got me into an exponential range to let me know that parasites, they're unremarkable when it comes to what they want to do, but they cause us as people to transmit disease to another person. And one of the parasites that I know that does this is the Toxoplasma gondii. And the Toxoplasma gondii, it's been found to cause people to commit suicide.
Jeez.
this parasite has been found to be literally in the cancers. Or if you look at the trichomosis parasite, where they find that in all the STDs, all the tumors, all the cancers. And if you think about my grandfather, Dr. Sebi, in 1985, he was taken to the Supreme Court of New York, and he had to bring one person for every disease that he actually healed. And he brought 77 people, and each person actually had a diagnosis sheet. And it told the world that there's some type of man in this lifetime that's actually healing disease. And when it comes to like suicide and the parasites that are actually linked to that, I link that to the lunar cycle is because I know that something goes on because we live in Vegas. Mm-hmm. And one thing that I know is when the full moon, when I used to come out here, I didn't have a telescope, but I had like a certain analysis about what's going on the Strip, what's going on in the north, the south, the east, and the west of Las Vegas. And I've actually have found that people really do act abnormal in Las Vegas. Now, I can't speak for all the nations. I can't speak for the University of Indiana, but that was on NCBI. It was actually recorded, and it's a federal website that kind of lets us know that parasites are actually real. So, one of the things that I would actually intervene is how parasites rob us of heavy metals, and it goes right into their skin so they can hide. And yeah, it's the most craziest thing that's what they're actually, that they're actually doing.
And there's a heavy metal issue right now too, right?
Yeah. One of the things is, it's like when you get rid of the parasite, they're going to leave heavy metals and it's going to keep you toxic. So you're going to need the actual parasite. But the thing is, if you go natural and you start responding against the parasites, I would subscribe toward going toward a parasite cleanse on the full moon, because on the full moon, you start noticing that you have deeper sleeping patterns that I've actually found on NCBI. I actually found that parasites like to attack the most on a full moon. And that's why I was saying, like, it just doesn't add up that people have these type of abnormalities and we're not covering these type of essentials.
Right.
But, my grandfather's been healing HIV for a long time. And one of the things I knew about HIV is in the sub-Sahara in Africa. When they tested these people in the sub-Sahara, they actually found some of the people there that actually had a parasite that was linked to HIV. So Dr. Sebi was correct that all conditions are actually linked to, he said to mucus, but mucus is equivalent to the parasite. And these establishments, they are not testing for parasites in America at all.
Not at all.
Yeah, I've never seen any clinic ever tell somebody like, hey, you're going to come in, you're going to actually take a test, and we're going to find some type of fungus or mold that they actually release. Now, parasites, they're going to release some type of impurity that you can actually test for. And I find when this impurity, once you test this impurity for parasites, you start having like a better understanding that you actually have it. So, one of the best things that I would actually advocate is during the lunar cycle is to when the moon is making its choice to orbit around the Earth. One of the biggest things I would go for is knowing who you are when it comes to your diet, because if you lose track about your diet, then you can gain some type of momentum from a parasite. And if that occurs, you won't even know it, because parasites, they're going to regulate your appetite, your mood, and your behavior. So 9 out of 10 times, parasites can live up to 15 to 20 years inside of your body.
Damn, that's long.
Yeah, it's the longest thing I've ever seen in my whole life. And when I think about how my grandfather even dealt with Magic Johnson, or how we can parallel this information to the sub-Sahara, HIV being linked to a lot of those people out there in Africa. My grandfather healed, Magic Johnson of HIV. Magic Johnson reached out to my grandfather for HIV.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
because I've never seen him talk about how he healed, and I think a lot of people want to know.
Yeah. He took my grandfather's products, and my grandfather's been talking about. Now, my grandfather was a firm believer that homicides and suicides came from mineral deficiencies.
Wow.
In our generation, what we don't know is, as a grandson, when I first started looking at the constellation, I said, man, this, because, Dr. Sebi discovered most of the fruitarian and veganism type of, platform, how everybody's starting to get on the bandwagon. But one thing that I started noticing is that we're not being tested for parasites at all. And I was looking for something that was equivalent to my grandfather's discovery of mucus. And I said, the only thing, and this was right before I moved to Vegas, I'm like, man, the only thing I can really find that all diseases was inflammation and mucus, it had to deal with a microorganism. It has to do with some type of entity. Because I said, we're humans. I mean, once we get invaded, it's like our brain and our gut bacteria. If anything has rulership over there, then we're going to be taken down as humans. So I'm watching movies. I'm like, you know what? Let me study the moon. Let me just start with the moon. And it got me down to the parasite. And when I figured out, the federal side of parasites are actually being enlisted and telling us as humans that we actually may have a parasite that's taken our purpose away from our lifestyle. So, I have essentially made it to where I'm continuing my grandfather's legacy. And also I got it to where, I kind of see why, us as people, why we have to really look at parasite cleanses, differently than any other person, because it's like, being robbed and being in a deficient state, it only leads us into one type of panel, and it's not the best one. When you're deficient, what I've been subjected to is realizing that people don't really know their purpose because they're losing all their minerals. And my grandfather, he discovered that the body is composed up to 100 minerals: vanadium, chromium, copper, manganese, and zinc. And we're mineral-based beings, and we're actually losing our minerals to the parasite. So I'm going through years and years of research, and when the full moon comes out, I kind of do my detoxes, but I'm highly observant about what's going on in life. During the full moons, the worst events actually occur on this earth, and I feel like parasites are taking the most advantage on humans when full moons are actually occurring. So I've been getting people to subscribe literally toward intracellular detoxifications that my grandfather has taught. And back in ancient times, it's funny is how parasites were looked up as demons. They were looked up literally as demons because they're the ones that actually compromise the human and has more rulership than the actual human. So I'm matching up all these ballistic type of situations based on Dr. Sebi, and I'm like, dang, this has to be one of the most craziest feelings I've ever endured. So just now realizing the outcome of my grandfather and how, as a man, you can be a healer. I believe my grandfather didn't have a parasite. I knew my grandfather knew about mineral deficiencies that he actually discovered. And the people that I've actually helped to learn these things about how to remove parasites naturally, their purpose has fully changed.
Wow.
Yeah, some of these people quit their job. Some of these people started new businesses. Some of these people automatically went to nature and started building their own economy in the mountains. No matter if it's a metropolitan, they started resonating with more than one thing. But as a grandson of Dr. Sebi, I had a lot of people and been like, your grandfather ate fish, though. That's a form of meat. Your grandfather smoked marijuana. But what people don't know is that this man was one of the first, I would say one of the first kind of people that we actually had that knew how to detoxify meat. Most people that eat meat does not know how to detoxify it. Most people that smoke weed do not know how to detoxify it. So my grandfather, he had herbs that were diuretics. Diuretics are going to start helping you to urinate a lot more than the average person. You're going to be urinating all of your waste at one specific time. It's going to target your urine, and it's going to remove all the inflammation and all the impurities that you have.
Wow.
When it comes to fish, my grandfather, he chose more fish from the Caribbean that kind of come and flock to Florida, rather than getting just regular, or even fish that haven't been like, chemicals, that haven't.
Farm fish.
Yeah, farm fish, things of that type of nature. So he knew how to detox meat, and he knew how to detox chemicals. The average woman does not know how to do that. The average man does not know how to do that. If a kid gets a parasite and smokes weed and eats meat, and he doesn't know how to detox that, and he's in America and he's becoming 15, he's becoming 25, he's becoming 30, it's like they're coming to my family because of the buildup. And we teach them to self-rejuvenate. And I know that there's minerals in meat, but the thing is, it's going to cause uric acid. It's going to start building up on lactic acid. It's going to start building up on carbonic acid. So, as a being from nature that wants to deal with more primitiveness, I find it that, our doctors doesn't give us a dietary plan for removing parasites. When we actually catch a STD, they give us a little bit of information. They say, oh, this is an intracellular parasite, but here goes some medication. But they don't go into depth about, you just mentioned to me that this is a parasite. Doctor, why is that we overlook the STDs and we overlook the cancers and we don't know that these are parasites? I don't know why people are overlooking these type of situations, and it can be so harmful, because at the end of the day, if you eradicate a parasite 9 out of 10 times during the full moon, your life is going to expand. If you know how to detox in this generation, because I felt like the last generations weren't detoxing. They were really sitting back and projecting if they can. This generation, we're starting to be in the age of enlightenment.
Aquarius.
Yeah. And it's the most responsible thing you can do as a human to do a cleanse. You're giving an oath, a ritual to your body rather than a man. Because the first thing that we have to know as humans is our blood is rare. And for a parasite to siphon your minerals, that's the most unjust thing it can actually occur. So what I realize is that, in my opinion, these parasites are just demons. What they used to say back in ancient times. I stand on my grandfather's legacy to do self-rejuvenations, because as humans, we're supposed to be detoxing at least 45 days a year.
Wow.
Yeah. If you're not detoxing 45 days a year, then 9 out of 10 times you probably have a parasite.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Or is fasting considered a detox?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Fasting is definitely considered a detox. It's the fact that when you want to put in a certain extent of fasting, you have to start resonating with fruits, vegetables, and herbs. And you have to know how to go without. Like me as a man, I've done 120 days of fasting.
Oh my gosh. The Tri-Lite from Therasage is no joke. Medical grade red and near infrared light with 3 frequencies per light. Deep healing, real results, and totally portable. It's legit. Photo biomodulation tech in a flexible on-body panel. This is the Tri-Lite from Therasage, and it's next level red light therapy. It's got 118 high-powered polychromatic lights, each delivering 3 healing frequencies, red and near infrared, from 580 to 980 nanometers. It's sleek, portable, and honestly, I don't go anywhere without it.
People don't know they have cells. My grandfather, he wasn't from America. He didn't have the technology. The country didn't have the groups. It didn't have what it needed. America has the people, the technology, and the enlightenment. So that's why he came. And one thing that I know is how did he discover that as a human, we have billions of cells? And if we're not going to use our cells to combat disease, then we're going to fall behind in life. And I noticed that Africa just found a cure for HIV.
Really?
Yeah, they just found a cure.
Oh, I didn't see that. When was that?
That was just this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got to look into that.
Yeah, my grandfather, us as a family, we've been healing HIV. But I had to go into depth about how exactly HIV actually comes about. And
right.
it took me a couple of years to figure out how all this kind of progressed, but proliferation of parasites only occurs if you eat undercooked meat. And also parasites can be in the fruits and also the vegetables. So when you actually get a parasite, 9 out of 10 times you really don't know. You don't even know. So I have products that comes from South America and other countries that my grandfather has used in our knowledge. The youngest people from my family know how to get rid of HIV.
Wow.
Yeah, because what we do is we get people to do things that your mom and dad and groups of your family will never tap into. And that's fasting, and that's being able to go without your favorite foods for about 60 to 90 days. That's isolation. That's dedication to your cells. If you cannot dedicate an intracellular diet, then parasites kind of know. And most people, when I detox somebody of a parasite, they know when they're prone to a parasite. There's people that have followed my grandfather, Dr. Sebi, and me as a grandson, and started witnessing that potential. There's potentiality that your friend may get a parasite because you're detoxing more than them, and you can realize when one occurs.
Damn.
Yeah, parasites. The good ones are the ones that don't want to steal serotonin and melatonin. The bad ones are the ones that you need to watch out for the full moons, because those are the ones like the Toxoplasma gondii.
Yeah.
That's the one that, as humans, that's our primary enemy. That thing does not like humans. And how do I know is that it hides in heavy metals. And us as humans, we deserve to realize that we have lymphocytes and T cells that are highly combative of this disease directly. And if we do not try to use our cells as an advantage point, then parasites enhance every 7 years, just like the DNA. People ask why people aren't dying as much of HIV. And like I said, when I started looking up in the moon and started comparing that all diseases are linked to a parasite, I started telling myself, well, the average person is not going to start asking questions when it comes to their doctor and a parasite. So I said, well, how can parasites be more proactive? And the most proactive is not done during the times of the cycle of the seasons. It's the different seasons that we have, but it's the regulation of the moon. And the biggest part of a parasite that I don't like is that when you are sleeping and you're not getting as much rest in this lifetime, you can have the job, the business, or if you're efficient and you have to work your own land, or if you have your own house with no bills, you still have obligations, and a woman or a man can take on stress. What I've noticed is the deepest thing you can do as a human is definitely doing a parasite cleanse. And the ones that I perform are alkaline herbs that we get from Honduras. I put you in a state that people back in ancient times used to get, they used to remove parasites with doing things we don't do as humans. We don't break down volcanic rock and mix herbs and water and heat it up and sit. We don't go to saunas after working out and eating a fruit diet and sitting for 15 to 30 minutes. And how do I know we don't do this is because my grandfather's not from America. Now, America does have thermal waters. Every nation has thermal waters. But people from the city are not going to sit on a boiling rock to get rid of disease just randomly. They're going to get sick and they're going to go see a doctor. See, when my grandfather discovered that nature can heal us as humans, it's because nature has applications that has been around for thousands of years that's being hidden. And how do I know it's being hidden? It's because of ncbi.com, realizing that volcanic rock and different applications in and out the oceans, in and out the reservoirs of the forest, the oceans, heal disease. Wow. Especially with no clothes. And fasting.
So if you just walk outside naked in those areas?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And, the parasites, they know when we're putting on the most clothes. Like, I know you guys say, oh, your outfit is really nice. Your outfit is really nice. You want to dress like you want to get rid of a parasite. You want to embrace yourself. And if you think you have a parasite, the best thing you can actually do is start talking to yourself. see how you having sexual intercourse, see how you going to the gym, see how you're acting at the job. There's ways to see if you have a parasite, and there's ways to see if you're on your purpose. See, when my grandfather used to talk to me as a kid, he used to have me write down the things that I wanted to do in my life. Now, one thing how I know someone has a parasite is procrastination. If you're procrastinating a lot, 9 in 10 times you're not doing an intracellular cleanse, no matter if you're plant-based or not. I have people that are dictating their life based on a parasite cleanse and noticing how their cleanses are deep, but they're meeting their goals and they're not getting stressed out. One thing about Dr. Sebi that got me to realize to go plant-based and alkaline and know how to detox the conjunction of drugs or meat or impurities are these cells. When I knew my grandfather taught me about the cell, that's why I knew in the 1980s, my grandfather dedicated his life into intracellular research because he felt like 30, 100 years from now, people were going to be lost. And, to this day, I have a son. I show him what the blood looks like when it's tainted, what poop looks like when it's tainted. I've been in this practice along with our family for a very long time. And there's things inside of, the latest weed that grows outside of your apartment right next to your car can get rid of cancer. And sometimes parasites know when you're gazing upon healthy things and it deteriorates you to go do something else in your life. It's a whole cycle that we're not truly knowing as humans. I believe in my research that I don't believe that people know that they're human because they're not detoxing the parasite that has more, it feels like they have more purpose than us.
Wow.
It's like they have more purpose than us as humans. And I don't believe in that because when I start researching what compounds are that my grandfather, Dr. Sebi, describes, I have a product that works for a compound that opposes parasites. And I said, damn, there's compounds in plants that actually oppose parasites. And then you have cells that actually oppose parasites. So, and I'm a human just like you're a human. And we're on Earth. There shouldn't be any invasions going on.
Yeah.
And one thing that I looked at was comparing the moon, the lunar cycle, and detoxification with babies. Babies aren't born with a parasite. Babies are not born with a parasite. I've never seen a woman just straight up birth a baby with a parasite inside the baby. So naturally, as humans, we come here perfect, but there's things on this earth. Now, parasites are environmental friendly, but they manifest in humans. So we have to do our job when we're here on the earth. And these things can be microscopic and get as big as, 1 foot.
Yeah, tapeworms, even longer than 1 foot.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Tapeworms are a lot longer, and these things are messing up our electrical configurations in our body. And when they configure their usage, it's actually bypassing your birthright. It's actually bypassing the purpose of why you're even born.
Damn.
Yeah, because people were like, some of my choices are changing in life. After I started going into 30 and 90-day cleanses, if you're not going to put in no type of work for your body, there is something waiting for you, and it's called a parasite. And I hate that it has to work that way. And then we have to deal with the moon. We have to deal with the moon regulating literally everything on Earth. It regulates the ocean, and we're 70% of water. So when we're sleeping, when the moon is at full spectrum when the full moon is actually spectrum when it has a spectrum over our body, one thing that I notice is that the moon is causing tides in the ocean. And since we're 70% of water, it's causing some type of beneficiary for people that are detoxing, but it doesn't have a really high benefit for people that's not.
It's like the opposite effect.
It's the opposite effect.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, and it's like now that I brought a telescope in my life, I look at the moon differently. I look at it as it's a blessing, but for some people it's a curse, especially if you have a parasite. It's going against you.
Wow.
So, yeah.
What you said about the babies, I agree, but I think there's parasites in tap water, dude, because my friend has 2 kids, 2 babies, and they both have eczema already. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
They're like 1 year old, and they have eczema all over their legs.
Yeah.
That's a parasite thing, right?
9 out of 10 times, I would advocate, yeah. I found parasites in condoms.
In condoms? How?
Well, parasites can live in environments of dairy. Parasites cannot live in certain environments long enough when vegetative environments are there. Are there parasites present at the grocery store over the fruits, over the vegetables that my grandfather, Dr. Sebi's advocated to try? Yes, they're there too. But we have a self-cleaning system that can kill it if we put it in the body in this right environment. Now, parasites can be also in the tap water. It definitely can. But one of the things that I would say is not only it's in the tap water, but it's also in the food. There's air parasites. There's parasites that actually come into the body just from the air.
Damn. Is that from the chemtrails?
Well, I mean, you have like the nanoparticles that are kind of like, just based on the connotations of that. I tend to subscribe only toward like what's really essential when it's the actual parasite, just off the scale generally. Now, what I do know is the parasites can live in any type of environment, the tap water, the air, those type of ballistic situations. But, just intervening inside of our lifestyle as a human, we have to be able to just notate like how we're going to grow, how we're going to be able to do all this stuff. But yeah, it's just, one of the things that I know is just like when it comes to these situations is we have to know like if we're good or not. We have to know if we have a parasite or not, because if we don't, then it's gonna get just worse and worse and worse into our lifestyle. And I have to be a man to this day of not only carrying on a legacy, but I have to really figure out if people really, if they really want to be, if they really have the faith that's actually involved with us. Humans are born with faith, just automatically. Parasites work as advocates for the good and the bad, which means a parasite can play 2 faces. It can play the angel and it can play the devil. It can do 2 of the best worlds, because not only does it help you to stay in, because once you have it, it's hard to get rid of it, because now you need it. It's just like a drug at a certain standpoint. But based on my discovery is once you remove the parasite and the heavy metal, your life should start progressing just annually. But it's just that, people nowadays, they can't indifferentiate what type of areas those are actually in. But yeah, it's highly relevant that we actually perform these things. And heavy metals is really easy to get rid of. Like we can start implementing cilantro. We can start implementing anthraquinones from Casca sagrada. Those are some of the things that really matter inside the lifestyle of us as humans. Because when you want a high acceleration for the body to remove parasites, you're going to have to be highly dependent on your immune system all the time. Yeah. And if you're not really dependent on your immune system, 9 out of 10 times what's going to actually occur is you're going to be prone to infectants that like to build from restaurant foods. And you can get transmissions of parasites just through sexual activity. And you can get transmissions just by someone having a parasite and their fluid touches. Like I had a guy from Planet Fitness. This guy wasted all over Planet Fitness bathroom. It was a bodily fluid, and this guy caught herpes.
Oh my God.
On the bottom of his foot. And just by having the family structure that we have when it comes to healing, one thing that I know is that I use federal websites to back up, because most scientists, they're going to publicate if you have a parasite or not on a federal website. So what I tend to do is when I looked at semen of a man that has a parasite, if he erupts or ejaculates, and if you test his semen, 9 out of 10 times, if you somehow get inside of a scar, you could potentially have an STD. You could potentially manifest into an illness or a disease.
Damn.
Yeah, it's the most craziest thing. Also with women, during the full moon, women have higher fertility rates. You know, it gets their menstrual cycles are actually abnormal. There's things that goes on there. So there's indicators in our life to let us know that parasites are actually relevant. You know, they're kind of saying that 70% of people around the world actually has a parasite.
I think so, yeah.
I mean, out of the whole world, they're saying 25%, which is North America, South American islands, is already taking up 25%. They're saying that all of us over in the Western world has a parasite. I don't know about England. I can't speak for Africa. I can't speak for Australia or China. I can't speak for the other countries. But they're saying 25% of the Western world. Now you have the North, the South, and the East of the world. We have 25%. They're already saying like 80 to 90 million, Americans have a parasite. So one of the things that I would intervene is if you're a true human, then 9 or 10 times you have to put in at least a 30 to 90 days, because addiction is going to occur from something called casein. Casein is what feeds parasites. Casein is only found in meat and cheese. It's highly addictive. So as a man, one thing about my grandfather was, before we even healed HIV and cancer, on my Instagram, I have a man that I healed of a tumor the size of a tennis ball, and it's down to a pebble.
Wow.
Just off of fasting. I remember when Michael Jackson's family, his son Omar, went to my grandfather, and he actually sneezed like 20 something times into a bag, and a tumor came out.
Jeez. And
that's the same herb that we used. Now, when a parasite farts or poops or has sexual contact, it leaves tumors and cancers.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Have you ever seen if you look at some of the tumors that were taken out of people's body, there was one tumor, you can look it up on Google, that this tumor was taken out and it grew teeth and hair.
Oh, I think I saw that. I thought that was AI. That was real?
Well, that was advocated. But there's abnormalities to where it could have been AI, but just progressing off of the parasite itself. There is buildup that are non-cancerous. The guy that I healed, his tumor was non-cancerous. How did he get that? How are we getting these buildups as humans every single day of our life? It's like a big acne bump that doesn't like to pop. How do we get that? And we're humans. We have an immune system. I mean, I believe that even with my grandfather's court case, when my grandfather knew that our bodies were fighter jets, intracellular fighter jets inside of our bodies, when he in 1985, when he brought 77 people with diagnosis sheets and he was acquitted for the whole court case, was because he won. He shown that he brought 77 people and actually won. Now, my grandfather, unfortunately, due to taxes, he owed a lot of taxes in Honduras. He owed a lot of taxes in America, and he was incarcerated because of it. And due to the living conditions in Rotan, Honduras, they don't give men and women, food. You have to pay through your family. In my family, we didn't know that my grandfather was locked up in Honduras. We didn't know that the United States put him to Honduras when he was called for taxes. Because, my grandfather, he kind of strapped over $100,000 to his chest and went to Honduras. And we tried to go to Honduras, but, you can't strap money to your chest in the United States. It looks like fraud. It looks like tax evasion. Then when they run your social and they see who the type of person you are, something happened to my grandfather. In Honduras, they don't feed people. In America, when you go to jail, you're incarcerated, you get food, you get a plate, you get the jails are here are better. Yeah. And we didn't know. And the living condition got him to where he caught malaria. The living conditions in the jail are so horrible. When you breathe, it's a potential you can get a parasite in the jail because the living conditions are so horrible. Being in America, we eat our parasites. But in other countries, the foods are better. You can easily get a parasite out here worse than out there. But if you have a bad living condition, you're kind of bringing the parasites inside of the body a lot more quicker. So my grandfather, I'm not saying he had a parasite in the jail, but what I'm advocating is that there are chances due to it's not sanitary. you know, it was very unsanitary, the jail. And unfortunately, he caught a respiratory illness in the jail, which could have been, you know, some type of inflammatory response from some type of disease. I don't know, but he was left untreated for a long time. And he ended up dying in jail.
Yeah. Well, Philip, this has been a great episode, man. Good intro episode for my audience and your audience to merge. I can't wait to film with you again, dude.
I appreciate it.
You shared a lot of knowledge.
Thank you,
we'll link your products in the video and your social media.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks so much for your time, man.
Thank you.
Yep. Check them out, guys. Check out the products. I'll see you next time. Wherever you guys are watching this show, I would truly appreciate it if you follow or subscribe. It helps a lot with the algorithm. It helps us get bigger and better guests, and it helps us grow the team. Truly means a lot. Thank you guys for supporting, and here's the episode.